Hi, I'm Leanne Ely. I'm a nutritionist, a New York Times best-selling author, and some people even say I'm a life coach. I started the Daily Dish Show to share my story, my truth, and my journey to vibrancy, and to inspire others to do the same. Because it's all about grit, perseverance, and finding a way despite the odds. It's about embracing the whole woman, not just the parts that are easy to love, and feeding her heart, mind, body, and soul. But I found that this isn't just my story, it's your story too. It's go time. This is the Daily Dish. Today we're going to talk about uncertainty. Yesterday, what did we talk about yesterday? I forgot. What did we talk? Urgency. We talked about urgency. And part of the whole thing when we're minding our time, and that's what this whole week is about minding our time and becoming better stewards of our time, understanding what it is, what it can do for us. And when we value it differently and finally understand that, sitting around killing time and all those things that people say is just really an affront, I believe, to God. He gave it to you. This is something you don't get back. How many of us here, and I know that there's a lot of us, who are these women. We had our children, we raised them, and now they're grown and gone, and that we look a little wistfully back at that time. We can't get their childhoods back. As much as we love them and they're coming to our homes and everything, we watch them turn 20 and then 30. And some of you have seen kids turn 40 and older. And we just don't get that time back. And that's part of the whole sense of urgency that I want you to have with your time, that your time is a gift. And every single day, it's up to you. It's on you to cherish that gift and to use it wisely. That's what wise women do. They use their time wisely. They don't kill it. They don't just waste it and fritter it away. They see it for what it is, an absolute 100% gift, right? I don't have background music on, Lily. Hey, Renee, I remember signing yours. So I don't know where you're getting background music. Let me just see if there's anything playing. Do I have anything playing here in the back? Nope, there's nothing playing there. I don't know. Lily, does anybody else getting background music? All right. Anyway, so we're talking about the part of uncertainty. Uncertainty is one of those things that does end up every day in everyone's life, in my life, in your life. And we can't get away from uncertainty, can we? Anyone? Has anyone been able to do that? So no one likes it, right? No one's saying, gosh, I'm hoping for a little uncertainty tomorrow. Not at all. Everybody is in the same boat together. Nobody likes it. It's a part of life. We know this. Boy, did we know this when we got hit with the pandemic last year. We know this about traffic jams. Who's ever been sitting in a car in a traffic jam for hours on the freeway? That's uncertainty, and it takes away our time. Have you noticed that? Uncertainty does that. That's just part of the way that it rolls. A car accident. If you've ever been just a little fender bender, man, that's hours, accident reports, exchanging information, maybe your car needs to be towed, whatever. But again, that's uncertainty. You don't go out thinking, hey, how about a fender bender today? No, of course not. Sometimes you're just going to run in and go do something at the grocery store, and there's this humongous wait in line. Or at the doctor's office, you're sitting there, butt naked with one of those, absurd little paper gowns all the way up and your butt's exposed to the world. The ones I'm talking about, sitting there for an hour. Has that ever happened to you? Boy, that doesn't make you happy, does it? But that's the uncertainty of what happens when you go into a doctor's office. And there's even more serious stuff like a new diagnosis. Sitting with the doctor, what does that mean? It means everything's got to shift. What does that mean? It means there's a new uncertainty in your life. That's what happens when we have a new diagnosis. And then a status change in a relationship. I had a woman that I was coaching a while ago who, she went through it. After years and years of marriage, her husband left her for a younger woman. I've been through this with several friends too. And I don't know, how do you can't prepare for stuff like this. There's no plan, prepare, etc. for uncertainty. It just comes with the equation. It's part and parcel of the equation. So all of these examples, maybe you haven't lived through all of them, but you've lived through one of them, haven't you? You've got friends who've lived with, have you ever had a phone call from a friend who said, my husband suddenly passed away, or my husband left me, for the cute nurse or something. We've all figured that one out. We've all felt it and lived it. Somebody has, you've lived something along those lines. So sometimes uncertainty can be in the big things, like a status change in your relationship. And sometimes it's the small annoying things, like waiting in line or, trying to get something done and there's just one thing after the other. That is what uncertainty is. And uncertainty can be an absolute time suck. And there's usually not a thing that we can do about it, right? So we have to look at it. And I will say that the problem with uncertainty is when we dwell on it, we go through something that, was an uncertain thing. And then we want to recount that experience, blow for blow. For example, there you go, Joanne. She set a 2 hour on a hardwood stove, set 2 hours on a hardwood stool. Oh, while dad had his dental appointment. Okay. So same idea, but what if Joanne said, so we arrive early, I fill in the forms and I do this, blah, 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 blah. And then they take my dad back. Well, it should have taken him back such and such, but he didn't. It took him forever. And then da-da-da. And it takes her half an hour to tell that story. What is she doing? If she did that, this is what she's doing. She's emoting over it. She's reliving it. And that becomes the place of dwelling. You remember the Robin Sharma quote that I say all the time because it is so completely true. What you think about expands. What you dwell upon becomes your destiny. And I think we need to look at the word dwell for a minute here. Because what your words become the house that you live in. That's another quote that I can't attribute correctly because I don't remember, but it's all so true. This is the kind of thinking and the kind of patterns that when we don't accept uncertainty and we just default into this whole, boy, you wouldn't believe what happened. And then there was a 2 hour wait. And then after that, I got a ticket on my car and you wouldn't, and then another friend says, hey, how are you doing? Oh, well, let me tell you. And you tell the story again. We can spend our lives recounting all of this stuff. We can. We can spend all of our time recounting all the things that have happened because of uncertainty. Or instead, we can dwell in the place of, well, it happens. Yeah, there I was on a hard stool. But you know what was good? I had my phone with me and I was able to get caught up on daily dish shows, or in my earbuds, I had an opportunity to get caught up. I had my reading with me. I had my knitting with me. There are things, of course, that we can do. And also, when we pivot like that, that uncertainty suddenly becomes just a part of life, And then we can also seek solutions. Like if this is what your dentist does, I would say do it right after lunch. Like take the first appointment after lunch, or talk to the receptionist and say, this doesn't work for me. I'm going to need something else. Help me out. What can you suggest? And we will wait a little bit longer, but we'll do whatever we can. So let's keep that Robin Sharma quote in our minds. What we think about expands. What we dwell upon becomes our destiny. Nobody has control over everything. No one. That's what uncertainty is. And boy, do our amygdalas love uncertainty. Well, let's say they don't. And everything's risky. It's all scary. And what happens to us when all of this happens? What happens to us when we do this? So when we dwell in the land, we dwell in uncertainty. And what happens? We become hand wringers. We get sick to our stomachs. I mean, Joanne, I know it's just not expected. Exactly. Uncertainty. And I was using, I hope that was okay. I was using your example of what you could have done after the fact to show that uncertainty can suck your time away. It can suck your time away. It's crazy. I love this, Darla. Darla says, I will say it a million times, the technique of finding the lesson to dwell on and clapping the rest away has been a life changer. So what she's talking about is kitchen's closed. Next, these are things that we do to remind ourselves that our brain needs to be trained at any point, because uncertainty is part of the amygdala's scary place. Uncertainty can be a time suck if that's what you're going to dwell on. It's a brain suck, an energy suck, and a time suck, period. But we can change our minds. We can change our minds and recognize it, right? Excuse me. When we recognize it, we can do something about it. And that's what it is. Call it out. Next. Kitchen's closed. Stop snacking at night. Kitchen's closed. All of these things can help. So we want to get away from HWS. You know what that is, right? Hand-wringing syndrome. My mother was the queen of hand-wringers. So I come from a long line of hand-wringers. You know, I get that. I will do this over and over in my head. Right now I'm kind of going through something with a friend, and I'm just like going over and over and over it in my head and thinking, you know, did I do something wrong? Is this the, you know, and hand-wringing the whole thing, because that's what my mom did. It was part of my training as a child, be a hand-wringer. So I have to untrain myself in my brain and just say, next. You know, I did the best that I could in the situation that I was in. And I love this friend of mine, and I will see, did I say something? Did I do something? If I really feel like that, instead of over processing, because that's hand-wringing. And hand-wringing goes hand in hand with uncertainty. We hand-wring. Ugh, not good. So how do we stop this? You know, because really, if you look at it, it is a huge time waster. It is a huge time waster, because we can spend all of that time on it instead of getting into the place of solution. And that's what we need to do. Solutions are everything. You know, it doesn't help to go over and over and over and over the treadmill, the hamster wheel of what happened. We get it. It's uncertainty. You know, things happen. But what are you going to do to fix it? What are you going to do to change it? What are you going to do to shift the whole thing up? And I've got 7 things for you. You ready? You ready? Number 1 is do like Elsa and let it go. You know, this is the thing that this is a question that I asked myself that just absolutely 100% changed my mind. Kind of like the clapping. You know what it was? If I can't control it, what's the point? What's the point? Let it go. If you can't control it, then what is the point? Why do you want to put yourself through that? You know? If we are to be the gatekeepers of our hearts, minds, and souls, which I believe we are, if we are to love ourselves, if we are to do the things and prop up the things that we want in our lives, we have to let things go that we can't control. We just do. There is no control out of sitting there and just hand-wringing it all. Don't be caught in HWS. It is a time suck, an energy suck, and it puts you on such a low vibe. You don't want that. Number 2, and I have to say this because I think this is important too, as you're going forward, that doesn't mean that you just avoid the way you feel. You could feel kind of put out. You could feel taken advantage of. You could feel like, you know, I feel a little bit angry about this situation. I don't feel like my time is being honored. Feel it. Write about it. Put it in your journal. And maybe you say to the receptionist, I know it's not your fault, you know, very kindly, but I can't spend 2 hours here in this dentist's office. What would you suggest so that it won't happen for the next time? It's hard on my dad. I've got other obligations. What do you What do you suggest? That takes you from being angry and teed off to a place of solution. You're seeking solution. When you seek solution, it tampers down the flame of uncertainty, doesn't it? I like that part because it makes you feel so much more comfortable. Now you're looking at what I can do, because out of control stuff, there's nothing you can do about that. But this offers control. Doesn't that work? Yeah. Oh, good one. Autumn. HWG, handle with grace. So good. I love that. So we feel the feels, and we also deal with them in our own unique way. The way you process, the way I process, two different things. All I can say is there is one thing that we need to have in common, and that is to process it quickly. This is something that it's like a bill. It's like you've got a pile of bills, process them quickly. Get them dealt with, get them handled, pay them and file them. There's a thing that needs to be done with them. And same with you. This is something that can go into the experience file as a teacher for later. We'll get to that. That's number 7. We'll get to the experience file if you've never heard of that before. This is my favorite technique for really dealing with garbage in my life, stuff like this, Number 3, redirect yourself. And at some point, aren't we all just like toddlers or puppies? We need something to chew on other than this uncertainty that we've been thinking about, or we need something to take us away from this kind of behavior. Pull out your knitting, pull out a book to read, do Candy Crush, just have some designated time to chill out and redirect yourself so you can take that chill pill for just a minute. It helps. Number 4, focus on your hot desire. And I'm going to just say this, I'm pretty sure that living with all the uncertainty and the side effects and all the time suck and energy suck from it is not your hot desire. Am I right? Anyone? Think he's up on that one? I don't know. Just a thought. So you got to do this whole thing of focusing on what it is that you want. Okay. So that was frustrating. I didn't like it that they closed the gym. They didn't tell me. My thing is I want to be an athlete. I am an athlete. That is my affirmation. This is what I'm doing. So I need to do this, right? This is what we do. When we focus on our hot desire, the hot desire becomes more. When we focus on our hot desire, and I'm talking hot desire, like I want this, there's emotions that go with it. There's visions that go with it, and you get solution oriented. We don't get sucked into, HWS or any of that stuff. We're pivoting and we're focusing on the right stuff. And number 5, remember that risks can be rewarded. To start with, your amygdala is always going to say, let's not do this. Too risky. You don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. But if you say, shut up, amygdala, I've got this, no big deal. And you do it anyway, the amygdala says, I was just kidding. Here, have some serotonin and some dopamine. Don't you feel good now? Rewards. We get rewards from not listening to our amygdala. Our amygdala is a wimp. Can we just say that? Our amygdala always wants us to say the same, even if it's the most uncomfortable thing in the whole world. But if we say, come on, amygdala, just give it up, sit up, take a seat. I'm on the trail. I've got this. Then guess what? You do have this. You are the one in charge, and you're going to get a reward with all those feel-good hormones. I love that part. And number 6 is, the cowardly lion. Remember the cowardly lion? He was such a hand wringer and the uncertainty and everything. But you know what? At the very end of it, at the very end of the movie and everything, what we found was he really did have courage. He just wasn't tapping it. You need to be courageous about this whole thing. Be courageous in the face of uncertainty, because fear and uncertainty, they are BFFs, and you know it. You know it. Because when uncertainty comes along, then we start to catastrophize. We start to go into the scary zone. We start to say, but what if? Not what if. You see the difference? But what if? Oh my gosh, what if? Whoa, bite my fingernails. Instead of, well, what if I just turned this all around? What if I said, you know what, I've got this. What if I what if I said, what if I did, can you imagine? Of course I've got this. You know, we start there, we start to turn it around, and we find our courage. Number 7 is the last one, and that is to use your experience file. Now, if you're new here and you don't know what an experience file is, I'm going to explain it to you briefly. An experience file is where we take the experiences that we've lived in the past, the ones that are unpleasant, the ones that we kind of go through our heads over and over and over again. And what we'll do is we analyze it. We unplug from the emotion of what this experience is, right? And then we look at it with an analytical eye and say, what can I learn from this? What is this teaching me? What is the lesson here? Because what we need to take from this experience, especially the ones that we play over and over in our head, we need to take the lesson from it and drop the rest. So we take that lesson and we put it in the experience file. And when we find ourselves going, well, oh gosh, and then he said, and then we start reliving it, that's enough of that. Let's go to the experience file and remember the lesson. Because the lesson helps us to stop the catastrophizing and the uncertainty and the hand-wringing and all the rest of it. We're better than that. You know, if we're here on purpose for purpose, yes, pinkies up on that, aren't we? If we're here on purpose and for purpose, then we just need to I'm not saying don't feel. I'm not saying to you to not look at what happened in the past, but I am asking you to be a little bit more analytical, to take the emotion out of it, because what we emote over, that's the stuff that becomes our future. You know, you remember I talked about the pianist. The pianist, whether he was playing or thinking he was playing, as long as he had the same feels, his brain was lit up just like it. You know what that tells us? Our brains don't know the difference. They don't. So keep your precious emotions for the things that matter, the things that you want. Emote over that, you know, and go ahead and dump some feelings about how you feel. I hate these people and blah, blah. Put it in your journal. Tell someone, but let it be done. One and done. And then refocus, recalibrate, and get on to the things that you want. This is why our experience file is such a helpful tool. I use mine all the time, all the time. I hope that helps. Those 7 things. We live in uncertainty. We all do, don't we? We all live in uncertainty. And at any time, something's going to pop up. Something's going to come in there and it's going to rock your world a little bit. It could be big. It could be small. It could be inconvenient. It could be a hassle. It could be all the things. That's what uncertainty is. It's just a huge basket of stuff. And we also know that it's going to time suck if it can. It's going to take away your energy and it's going to keep you low vibe if it can. But you have a decision to make right now. Is it going to? Is it? Not on my watch. I'm not going to let that happen to you. You're better than that. You're here on purpose and for purpose. Darla's right. Acknowledge the feeling, but refocus on your hot desire. Your hot desire is everything. Your hot desire is the thing that makes you tingle. That's the razzle dazzle right there. I'm telling you. If I haven't told you lately, I just want to say it again. I appreciate you so much. And thank you for showing up and for always being here. Peace be with you. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you for joining me today. You can find me on TikTok for daily tips to help support your most vibrant life. And remember, you are the author of your own story. Until next time.